Hello, ballers! What's going on? It's Preacher. Today I want to talk to you about how to manage alts in Legion. So many of you are like, I'm not even playing an alt. Like, I can't be asked. I know what I do on my main every week. The last thing I want to do is transfer that to an alt, and I don't blame you. I don't blame you. But as you probably know, with 725 looming and the guides coming, I have a lot of alts and I need to manage them. So what I'm going to do is point out the stuff that I've learned over the last sort of 4 weeks of having all the alts under management, of things that you can say bye-bye to. Like, I'm not doing that on my alts. It's completely inefficient. So most of this video is going to focus about what is the most efficient way of using your time so that you're not being bogged down. And by bogged down, I mean, if you decide, say even with 2 or 3 alts, to do the emissary quests, you add lots of hours to your gaming week where you're not getting much out of it. And that's a lot of time investment that's not paying off. In my eyes, it's not paying off. Everybody will have different terms of value that they're going to add to this. Like, I want every Lego chance possible, every character. That's down to you. I'm looking to, like, what is the best way of using my time to keep my alts up to scratch, so when I come to play them, they're not miles behind. That's what I'm aiming for, right? So let's start with the basics. Do you do your dailies every day? Fuck no. Absolutely not. At this point, the emissary quests have become hugely inefficient, in my eyes. Like, massively inefficient. They are always spread across zones. They're usually in 4 corners. You can pick and choose what rewards you want, which is great in the very early days. Do I want more AP to get my points? Do I want more class or resources, which is something I spoke about a while ago? Or more importantly, do I want relics? For anybody who's ever rolled an alt, relics is the biggest pain in the ass, particularly if you want to play more than one spec. Relics are a total nightmare, and world quests can work out very well to fix that problem in a very swift way. But what you'll find is super quickly, emissary quests become a pain in the ass. Given the way AK works right now, you can get up to the point where you're kind of working towards concordance, right? You're working through all those last dire points really quickly if you spent a little amount of time on your alts. So that's something I want you to bear in mind. With that said then, what do? The Broken Shore is the most efficient use of your time to keep your characters up to snuff and ticking over. Just the Broken Shore, not the extra emissary quests that come out in the world. The reason I say that is, if you go down to the Broken Shore, one, it solves the class hall resources problem. And the class hall resources problem is that if you want to be doing the campaign and doing missions, and we're going to talk about that later, and getting things like your coins, your seals of fate, all this kind of stuff, this all costs resources, and on a fresh character, they're not that easy to come by. You can do Blood of Surgeras, you can do all this stuff, or you're going to find yourself kind of mishmashing around the world trying to look for quests that are giving a few hundred resources just to keep things going. And then what you're going to do is start skipping on stuff. You're going to skip on your follow missions, you're going to skip on that. And that's actually a bad idea. I'll explain why later. But what I can say is that if you do the Broken Shore like once every 3 days on an alt, one, that zone is really small. It's really small. That means you're going to allow the quests to build up, and they're all very compact. They're very dense, which means you don't spend a lot of time down there getting everything done. And they have an abundant supply of AP and class hall resources and all this good stuff. It's more than enough to keep your character ticking over nicely with everything it wants to do, is just doing the Broken Shore. Not only that, but you're going to be picking up Nether Shards along the way. Now, Nether Shards is a pretty interesting one that isn't being talked about a lot at the moment, but it's likely, but Blizzard does tend to put a squash on this. So again, take what I'm about to say with, it's not confirmed yet, but it won't harm you, is hoarding Nether Shards. And we're hoarding Nether Shards. My mains are doing it, all my alts are doing it, and that's because when Tomb drops, the item level of the game is going up. Right now it's 925, as most of you are aware. When Tomb drops, the item level of the game is going to go up. There is a chance, let's just put it that way, there's a chance that the relinquished vendor is going to start supplying, potentially, gear up to the newest, highest item level, which means you could be throwing resources away that are turned into something much, much better very soon. Right? Very, very soon. So with that said, focusing your attention on the Broken Shore provides all these things. And alongside that, and I want to put this in the category of things that you should absolutely do, and isn't something to be skipped, is unlock the gambling arena on the Broken Shore. It's super easy to get. All you do is go and find the treasure goblin, and then the next day, the next part of that quest is unlocked, and super quickly you've unlocked the gambling thing. It is the most time-efficient way of getting gear. I know everybody gets burned every now and again, you get crap all, but generally speaking, for literally less than a minute of time, it's right next to where the flight point is at Deliverance Point, is you can potentially go and grab thousands and thousands of Nether Shards that turn into something really good. I mean, a minimum of 880 item level level, it is absolutely worthwhile doing that. Not only is it super quick to actually unlock it by just picking up the quest, but because the zone's so dense and you'll be doing dailies down there anyway, the likelihood is you're flying past where this treasure goblin is anyway. And some of you might be like, well, I'm not doing all the quests and stuff like that. I understand that, but it is absolutely worth unlocking the goblin thing just for that one-off chance of getting something really good out of it. You could end up getting yourself a couple of 880 items for 1 minute's work. Again, time investment, time efficiency, totally worth it, guys. Absolutely worth it. I mentioned the class campaign briefly there. I imagine most of you do actually want to unlock the extra mounts that are going to be coming soon, right? Most of you probably want to do that. And also, it is well worth, in my opinion, getting the extra follower that you get for doing the Legion Fall Champion part of the campaign. Not only that, though, some of the stories that they tell there are actually quite good. Some of them are terrible. I think someone should be just, like, brought in to answer for the Paladin one. It was the worst thing ever. But a lot of them are actually really cool. So I would put this in the category of things you should probably do, but don't focus on it too much, is do the Legion Fall Champion stuff. Each one takes about 20 minutes. Some are longer, some are shorter. But the benefits are you're going to unlock the ability to have an extra follower, bonus AP. Again, class all resources aren't a big deal. Even when you're talking 10,000 and 15,000, you'll quickly notice that a spring round the Broken Shore and a couple of chest turn-ins, you might come back with 5k resources. It happens pretty regularly, stuff like that. So I would absolutely recommend you do the Legion Fall Champion stuff, get all that out of the way, unlock the cutscene, get yourself progressing, have 7 followers, and then that brings us to followers. I mentioned earlier with class all resources being quite scarce, people are dodging followers. Do not do that. Get your followers and all your characters ticking over. Even if you only check it once every couple of days, once every 3 days, it doesn't matter. Just get them doing stuff. The reason for this is the Mage Tower buffs provide huge benefits. Those Elite Strike quests are absolutely worth it. Follower missions that pop up every few days giving, even at this point, they're giving, what, 40 million AP, 7,500 Nether Shards, huge amounts of 500 Legion Fall turn-ins, which is 5 chests of potentially really large AP stuff. We'll talk about Legos in a moment. It's so worth it. It's so worth it for the cheap cost and the fact that you just click and they go. It is absolutely worth it. Work on armor, work on champions gear. Oh, that's what you care about. You don't care about the piddly amount of gold or anything like that. Just get them gear, get them armor, get them some items to go, get them going, and you'll very quickly see it scoot up to getting better missions, more rewards, more 200% chances. You'll definitely see your gold fly. Your gold will fly through. And you can even add the gear that gives, like, class all resources, extra gold, stuff like that. Anything that you personally prefer, but get them working so that you can pick up all these bonuses that you're going to want. Because you are going to want them, because that little tiny investment now is going to pay off massively in the end. Let's talk about legendaries. So I'm mentioning don't do the emissary quests anymore. And people will be like, well, what about Lego chances? Look, Lego chances are, again, it's time versus reward. Sure, if you do all the emissaries every day, you'll have more chances of getting legendaries. There's nobody doubting that, and no one's going to dispute that. But the same could be said if you do every raid on your alts, if you do every random heroic on your alts. It never ends. It's a spiral that you can get caught in that's really quite bad. For me, we know that certain functions of the game are weighted differently in terms of the chance to give you Legos, right? We know that's the thing. So everyone's pretty confident that the chest that you get at the end of the week if you do Mythic Plus has the highest chance. And then there are different things that do that. Seemingly, from experience, or perhaps it's just because of the sheer quantity of turn-ins, the Broken Shore chest that you get for turning in 100 resources has the biggest chance next to that. They have dropping huge amounts of legendaries just out of those tokens. That's more than enough for me to monitor the alts before you start running into diminishing returns. You get your first couple of legendaries very quickly. After that, it really tapers off. That's more than enough for me in terms of time investment. Everything you add past that starts adding like 20, 30, 40 minutes regularly per week. So then you're talking like an hour and a half extra per week per character. Very quickly starts to spiral out of control. That's what I fear. Same thing kind of goes for the world bosses. What you'll notice is world bosses gear, the normal world boss that spawns on a Wednesday or a Tuesday, depending if you're in the US or EU, the gear from that is just useless. It like becomes massively useless. It's like 860 gear with a chance to be something good. But it has a really extraordinarily high chance of giving a legendary. So I would recommend you do it. Don't coin it, obviously. But definitely do the world boss down on the Broken Shore when he spawns. Is it with a command center? I think it's with a command center. I would definitely do that. Going back to the campaign then. Get the campaign done for the next reason as well. It's not just the flying mounts. the chances are the legendary rings are going to come from doing the class haul campaign. That means if you've had terrible luck with legendaries on alts or you haven't played them a lot, so they've had a lot of legendaries, there's a really reasonable chance that just doing your campaign and getting that done is going to give you a decent legendary. Might be in Tomb. Looks like it's going to be Tomb. There's a decent chance that's going to happen. Again, not confirmed, but it looks like it is going to go that way. It's our gut instinct. And again, it comes down to, well, if it doesn't, what's the worst that happened? Not a lot, really. You got an extra follower that's still providing you with tons of resources. You're getting bonus AP whenever it decides to proc. You're getting all these benefits that you're having anyway, and you're going to get a sweet mount to go with it. So for me, it's a no-lose scenario, and it could definitely fall into that category of things you should probably get on with, but you don't need to rush, and you certainly don't want to invest time in. By doing this, by not doing the emissary quests anymore, by only doing the world quests that gave me the relics and then ignoring them, by just hoarding my nether shards, doing the world bosses, just doing the class campaign and keeping my follower missions ticking over, I've reached an equilibrium very quickly across 12 characters where class haul resources are no longer a problem for me. I don't worry about gear in any way. I'm not looking to try and pick up items other than maybe from Relinquished or doing harder content. Anything from the world is pretty much irrelevant for most of them now. I'm in position to get the Legion 4 rings on most of the characters. And the final thing I wanted to touch on, which a lot of people find very off-putting, is Suramar. What I can say is I haven't done Suramar other than the introduction to Suramar, which is you go down and unlock Meridil, on any of my alts. Besides my Monk, which I did at the very beginning of Legion because he was my herbalist. I haven't done it on any, and it has not been a problem. Although the Nightfall quests are sort of locked off in terms of going into Suramar City, it doesn't matter if you're not really doing the emissary quests, right? It's not a big deal. It's really not a big deal. So I've kind of left that behind. Will that be tied into doing the whole quest line in order to get everything at the end of the expansion? It might be. It absolutely might be. But for now, it doesn't look that way, so I'm leaving it as is. If I can avoid Suramar, I will do. But that's something you might want to bear in mind if you have some off time, is to do the Suramar stuff in case you're going to need it lately. If you're going to need the balance of power, or you're going to need something along those lines, that'd be something you want to consider. Alright guys, thank you so much for listening. I hope that helps people who are interested in alts, and also maybe some people who are like, can I afford to miss this? In the things I've told you to avoid here, yes, you totally can. You don't need to be doing that stuff. It just eats your time. Bye bye guys.